Hi, good evening. Can we start the section because I am waiting for some other people, but still not many people are joining. But still okay because they can get the recording and they can hear it. And if any doubt, they can ask me later on. Now, am I audible to you? Can you hear me all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So today we are going to see two chapters, which is talking about the first one, distillation. The next we will see thermodynamics. Distillation, it's a vast topic. We can't know generally the petroleum and distillation topic will be like, in our chemical engineering, there will be two subject, if I'm not wrong, but there is some specialty also there. Petroleum engineering separate in engineering course is already there. So, but we can't cover everything here. So as whatever it is important, it is being covered here, and we will see some important topics and some relevant questions, and have some more distillation questions also that I will share it to you. That if you can, before exam, if you can prepare, it's okay. It will be okay to answer distillation questions. Distillation, I heard it is something around three questions, two or three questions only it will be asked, and mostly theoretical questions, which is talking about the process and everything. But there are some material balance related questions also there. Okay, let's move to the topic. First, distillation process. As you know, this is a crude oil. Crude oil is getting heated in the distillation column. Then it is getting this separated with from lighter one to heavier one. These are the process, and you can see some boiling point range wise, temperature range wise, what type of product you are getting. Right? So, for example, if it is a 30 degree, 0 to 30 degree, then until C4 gases, and 30 to 180 degree is naphtha. Around 260 degree it is kerosene, and 350 degree gas oils, and between 500 lubricant. These are the heavier, asphalt and fuel oil or heavier. So roughly just remember, no, they will say lighter, heavier, intermediate. So that term, if you understand, and remember the temperature, and you can see some of the product usage, product application wise, you will, that will be good to answer the question in detail. If you really see in detail, that means what is a really a distillation process. This is the distillation process, just overall process, right? When you have a crude oil, first it will have a atmospheric distillation. The atmospheric distillation, whatever we saw in the PPT, it's overall, which consists of atmospheric also and vacuum distillation also. But generally, these are the two different distillation process. This is a atmospheric distillation, when the pressure, the distillation column pressure, it's atmospheric pressure distillation. Another one is a vacuum distillation. So atmospheric distillation, obviously you have a lighter one, and you have a heavy, they call it as a naphthas and everything, and jet fuel, kerosene. There's a jet fuel and diesel, and then they go with the gas, atmospheric gas. It's a separate one, and you have a heavier one. This is a bottom product, or called atmospheric distillation bottom, right? So atmospheric bottom or bottom product. So that again go to the vacuum distillation to separate it more further in terms of asphalt, and you have a vacuum, heavy vacuum gas oil and light vacuum gas oil and residuum, right? So in order to separate the heavier one more in further, so the vacuum distillation is required. Then there are a lot of process you can see, gas processing. They have some of the key information, something like catalytic reformer, and if you have there is there is amine treating, then sulfur treatment, right? Desulfur process. So these are some process you can remember, where you remove the sulfurs from your gas oil, and also from um, gases, lighter gases also. So what is this process? What are the things is going to be used as a catalyst or reactant or agent, something that all will be covered in. I didn't cover much in detail. If you have, no, so you can prepare it. What is hydro? You can prepare what is hydro treater, right? These are just as catalytic reforming. We will cover that one. What is catalytic reforming and all. There are some topic, if you want for more information, please prepare for that also. Then you can go. There are some topic I'll cover, and there are some topic it will be covered in the theoretical question itself. So from that you will be able to answer this kind of the refinery process questions. I'll share this distillation process flow chart also. That will help you for exam preparation. Now let's go back to the slide. This is a slide which is talking about the overall distillation process. Now let's see here in detail about the process wise. So this is a distillation column. You have a crude oil, it is in a feed. The top one is called a rectification, and the bottom is called a stripping section stages. And the rectification stage, you have a lighter one which has a condensed. Then you have a reflux drum. Then the reflux again feedback to the column, and you will get a distillate. The stripping section, you have all the things is getting this heavier one. You reboil, then the boil up will go up, will be feedback to the distillation column, and then this is called a bottom, this is called a distillate, this is a feed. So one is upper one is called a rectification section, this is a stripping section. So now again, when you're talking about a distillation, here we are going to talk about the balance, mass balance. Same way, feed equal to D plus B, distillate plus bottom. For mass balance, for mass balance of component X, if you see here, let's say if you take some component XF of F plus that is equal to XD of D, that's a component of X in the distillate and a component B in your bottom product. So that is give you the mass balance of component X. So in rectification section, if you see only in this section, this is an overhead which is called a V bar, right? Come from V bar is nothing but liquid, right? Or reflux plus distillate, right? So then component X in the V bar, which is equal to XLL plus XDD. So then you can calculate the reflux ratio. There is a two ratio here, reflux ratio and boil-up ratio. Reflux ratio is nothing but L by D. Some disturbance to the some disturbance in my internet, but now I think it is back. I hope you all can hear me. So this is called stripping section, and we are talking about the mass balance. In terms of mass balance, you can see here, they will give a reflux ratio. Reflux ratio is nothing but L divided by D. L is a liquid and a distillate. So if they have given the reflux ratio, you can use this is the mass balance equation. Instead of L and D, you can substitute in this one, then you will get a mass balance equation. So this has been derived, so you don't need to worry about the derivation, and just remember the equation, that will be enough. Same thing we can go with your stripping section. In this stripping section, there is called one more ratio, which is called a boil-up ratio, which is nothing but V divided by B. So you can do a mass balance equation in terms of here XL L bar XVV plus XBB, right? That's equal to the boil-up ratio. So now, when you're talking about this rectification and stripping section, there are for binary mixtures, right? You have to think about the condition of the liquid, right? That based on that L bar and V bar may change. So if it is a subcooled liquid, and if the subcooled liquid means the liquid will be very here you have a on the top, it's not only 1 point atmospheric distillation. We are assuming there is some distillation column. It's a normal distillation column. It's not a refinery distillation. Normal distillation, you will have a liquid and from the top for binary mixtures here, right? Then F is the feed. If feed is really subcooled, then you can see L bar, which is equal to F plus L. And if since because of the feed is very cold, then whatever the vapor come from the boil up stripping section or boil up ratio, boil up vapor, right, from the bottom. So that some of the one will get liquefied, condensed or liquefied here. So that is what you can see the symbol. So the V is less than the V bar if it is a subcooled. The same thing if your feed is a superheated liquid, then even the liquid which is fed on the top, some part of a liquid is getting evaporated and feed is superheated. So that is a complete vapor. So the V is a greater than F feed plus V bar, right? Whatever coming from the bottom, that's a V bar. The same way L bar is a less than L. That's a supercooled liquid and superheated liquid. If you say bubble point, right? Bubble point means it's just nice. You have a clearly a feed is nothing but F plus L bar is nothing but F plus L, and whatever V bar equal to V bar, right? That's a bubble point. Just nice. You have a clearly said about the bubble point liquid if the feed is a bubble point. If the feed is a dew point, right? Dew point means it will be in superheated. But if it is, since it is in a dew point, the liquid is not getting vaporized. The L equal to L bar here. So that's the key thing you should remember if it is a bubble point or dew point, or if it is a partially vaporized, right? So read the question, see whether what kind of status of liquid it is said. Accordingly, you can decide about the L bar and V bar, right? So if it is a bubble point, just nice, the whatever in the bottom come from the feed liquid and L also liquid and V equal to V bar. And if it is a partially vaporized, then there should be some how many percentage is getting vaporized, that will be mentioned in the equations in the question. Then the V equal to whatever coming from the bottom, from the boil up section or say stripping section. Then vapor come from the feed, that gives you a total V going to the rectification section, or you have a reflux section. Then the liquid, pure liquid, then L bar equal to liquid in the feed plus L. If it is a dew point, the feed is completely going up on the top with a vapor, then you have a completely V bar and L equal to L bar. So if it is a dew point, L equal to L bar and vapor equal to feed plus whatever coming from the boil up section or stripping section. So understand the status of a liquid, which is the feed status. Then accordingly, you can decide about the whatever the vapor entering into reflux drum or reflux or section, and whatever liquid entering into the boil up section, that you will get it. So this is a consider the case where the feed is not supercooled or superheated, right? If it is not supercooled or superheated, the boil up ratio you can arrive from this formula also. V bar, right? That's a boil up ratio which is equal to distillate plus liquid minus vapor feed in the vapor in the feed divided by V. That gives your boil up ratio. So here liquid entering is a L plus LB. That's a if it is not a supercooled and superheated vapor. So this is a number of theoretical plate, a total reflux. Actually, there is so far any question I heard, no any question is being asked for number of theoretical plate, but this is just for your reference. You can keep it, but in this one, they may have to give a volatile relative volatility, right? And they may give you the what is the more volatile component and what is the volatility, and then that depends upon the component. You have to choose the total relative volatility, then substitute here. So that gives the number of theoretical plate required, a total reflex. So, but that is so far it is not being asked. This is for just the information. Now we see some of the process. Right? So the first thing is they're talking about the K factor or characterization factor. What is a K factor? Every geographically or wise, there each oil, they have some grade. So how the grade is being given, that is based on the K factor, or they call it as a UOP K factor, or characterization factor is a technical term. Generally, in a commercial term, they will talk about the K factor. It's a systematic way of classifying a crude oil according to its paraffinic, naphthenic, intermediate, or aromatic nature. Depends upon the aromatic or intermediate or paraffinic nature, the K factor value is given. So 12.5 or higher indicates that crude oil predominantly is a paraffinic constituents, while 10 or lower indicate a crude of more aromatic nature. If it is a 10 or lower means more aromatic will be in that crude oil. If 12.5 and higher means is a more paraffinic, right? So that's a K factor characterization, and mostly in the Middle East, if you are getting that, generally it is around 12, I guess, not 12.5. It is between, it's only 12 actually. So you have a mix of everything. If you go to the Southeast Asia, either Malaysia or Singapore, I heard it is more in aromatic nature. I think 9 point something the K factor value. So based on that K factor value only, the crude oil commercially it is being valued, and accordingly the process may change. The next important thing, one more information is about octane number. That's very important. Octane number is a figure that indicating the anti-knock properties of a fuel, based on comparison with a mixture of isooctane and heptane. It indicate the particular fuel anti-knock properties that in terms of isooctane and heptane. Right? So what is the octane number? Is the value used to indicate the resistance of motor fuel to break down, I would say, right? So it's also called a octane rating. So generally octane number are based on a scale which is on which isooctane is 100. Isooctane is 100, heptane is 0. This is a very bad knock. This is a minimal knock. So if it is a 0 to 100 means heptane to isooctane. In that scale, the particular fuel have been measured or classified as an octane number. Right? The higher the octane number, the more compression is required for ignition. Right? And that fuel required more compression. Higher the octane number, that fuel required more ignition. More compression for ignition, right? High octane numbers are used in high performance gasoline engine, right? So that's octane number high means you need to it will be used in the high performance gasoline engine. If low octane number means it is used in a diesel engine where fuel is not that much compressed, right? So that's the reason I think it is being given here. That is the reason generally you can't here. That's the reason they're saying about. That's the one reason we can't use the petrol in diesel engine and diesel in petrol engine because of the octane number. Because if it is for diesel engine, the low octane number are used. There's a diesel is normally low in octane number, high in CTN number. It's in a reverse way. That's used in the diesel engine. Whereas in petrol engines or in where you have a high also gasoline engines, like your flight and all, they use a high octane number gasoline engine where you have a more compression is required. Octane number measures the performance of a gasoline, while CTN number measures the performance of the diesel. Right? The fuel having a high octane number has a low CTN number. High CTN number fuel has a low octane number. That is the reason we can't use the petrol in diesel engine and diesel in petrol engine. So this is about the K factor, and we talk about the octane number and CTN number. Now there is another one which is important process. This is called a catalytic reforming. Catalytic reforming means that convert the low octane into high octane number. Right? That is catalytic reforming. It's a chemical process used to convert petroleum refinery naphthas distilled from crude oil. Right? Typically having a low octane numbers into high octane liquid products, that is called a reformate, which are a premium blending stocks of high octane gasoline. So this is the process that convert low octane linear hydrocarbon into high octane, that is means into branched alkanes and cyclic naphthanes, right? So this is called catalytic reforming, where low octane number liquid product is being converted into high octane liquid product, like in terms of isoparaffin and naphthanes. So then, which are then partially dehydrogenated to process a high octane aromatic hydrocarbons. The dehydrogenation also produces significant amount of hydrogen gases, which is fed to the refining process, such as a hydrocracking. So whatever from the catalytic reforming process, the hydrogen is being produced because of the dehydrogenation is a part of the catalytic reforming. So that hydrogen is being used in your hydrocracking process. These are some basic theoretical information about just to recall. So you can talk about what is hydrocracking, what is catalytic forming. There are a lot of process there that better you little bit prepare, that will be enough, because so far it is not being that much asked, either calculation questions or some information like octane number, CT number, diesel engine, and they may ask about some doctor solution, some catalytic information. That is the only thing so far it is asked here in the chemical UPDA chemical examination. Let's take the question for example. So here, a binary mixture of tetrahydrofuran and isopropyl alcohol is to be separated into a relatively pure stream of THF and IPA. Right? There is a mixture THF and IPA. We are going to separate it out in terms of two separate THF and IPA in the distillation column operating at atmospheric pressure. The column material balance is summarized in the table. For a stripping section, they have given L by V ratio is a 1.4. So L by V ratio is given. Vapor leaving the kettle or reboiler has a flow rate of, what is the flow rate? The vapor which is leaving the boil up section, what is the flow rate? That's a L by V ratio is being given, right? So we have seen a reflux ratio. Reflux ratio is nothing but V by D. Boil up ratio is nothing but, I think, B by V, isn't it? Yeah. Reflux ratio is L by D, boil up ratio is B by V. But what is given is a L by B, it is given. L by V, the ratio is given, but the question they are asking about what is the V for the information is given here, right? So here the column stripping balance is summarized in the table. So first, the first stripping column, what is the material balance? Liquid is nothing but V plus B, right? Vapor in the plus the bottom product. That's a mass balance around the stripping section, because it is given in the stripping section. For a stripping section, it is given. So if it is a L by V, means you divided by the V. L by V equal to, if you say V by V, B by V, right? 1 plus B by V. So that when you substitute here, B by V is nothing but L by V is 1.4 minus 1. So the B by V, which is the boil up ratio, is of 0.4. B equal to, you can see B divided by 0.4. Right? What is a B here? That's a bottom. You can see bottom, the distillate here, I think the total LB mole per hour, right? So which is a 1.259 divided by 0.4, that gives a 3.15 LB mole per hour. So first you get a stripping section mass balance, then the information given is L by V. So then you sub, if they have given the B by V, straight away you can take from the B by V, we can straight away calculate the vapor leaving that boiler. But here they have not given the B by V. So you take that mass balance around the stripping section, and then you divide V, the whole equation divide by V, then become L by V, then V by V become 1 and B by V, right? So then B by V is nothing but, L by V is nothing but 1.4 minus 1. So that is what B by V equal to 0.4. So then B equal to B divided by 0.4 here. Then you can talk about how much it is. B you can take from here bottom, 1.259 divided by 0.4, that gives a 3.15 LB mole per hour. This question is being repeatedly asked. The next question we are talking about the ammonia water system. here the clue is essentially as it is in a bubble point. So if it is in a bubble point, let's go back to here. You should recall bubble point L bar equal to F plus L. That's the information. Feed plus liquid and V equal to V bar. Right? That's what you remember. So an ammonia water system, essentially it is a bubble point, is processed in a tray stripping column with an external kettle boiler to recover the majority of the ammonia. A constant molar overflow simulation provides the following information. So they have given the overhead ammonia mole fraction, bottom ammonia mole fraction, feed ammonia mole fraction, right? XF, XB, and I think it is XD given. The reboiler boil-up ratio, what is the V by B is being asked. First, you have to take a equation which we saw here in a XLL. Here, this one, XL bar XVV plus XVB, right? This is only a stripping section. You take this equation, mass balance equation. So since it is a bubble point, L bar equal to F plus L and V equal to V bar, right? Here, take L equal to 0. Why L equal to 0? Because they are talking about mostly we recover majority of ammonia you are being recovered already. So that means there is a liquid. When you're talking about an ammonia, there is L equal to 0 here. So then when you divided by this equation, right, then XF into F by B, which is equal to XV by V bar by V, you divide by B, bottom product, right? You divide by B here. So L equal to L bar equal to F here. So L bar is nothing but F divided by B and V by B, because the question is boil-up ratio, which is a V by B they are asking. That's what here, V by B plus XB. So you substitute here for ammonia 0.4, F by B 0.95, V by V plus 0.01, same way for water. So then when you solve these two, you will get a F by B how much. Then when you solve, substitute in one in another, you will get a V by B how much, right? So the key thing here, you have to take L bar equal to F plus L. Then L you have to assume 0 because it's only a stripping section and the majority of ammonia you want to record. So L bar is nothing but the feed here. That's the only thing you have to remember. The rest are some theoretical question. So that is, I will give you one more word file about the distillation question separately. There are a lot of processes there. I will share it to you after that. Then if you just prepare with the answer only, then that will be enough for answering some more theoretical question. Bottom product of atmospheric pressure crude oil distillation, right, is termed as. So it's atmospheric crude oil distillation. What is the name of the bottom product, right? So the answer is, people simply said about the asphalt, but asphalt is the bottom product for vacuum distillation. So the right answer is reduced crude, right? Reduced crude is the right answer. That reduced crude is going to the vacuum distillation. In the vacuum distillation, the bottom product is called either residuum or asphalt. There is a two type of product you will get, but asphalt is really the lower level of a bottom product in vacuum distillation. Right. So the mercaptans are added to LPG. Why we are adding a mercaptan? The methyl mercaptan is adding in our all home cooking gas LPG. Why? Because the smell, right? If any leakage, you can easily detect to assist in checking its leakage from cylinder. That's why this LPG is being, mercaptans, ethyl mercaptan is being added in your home cooking gas. Crude topping column operates at. Topping column means it's the first one which is an atmospheric pressure, right? Topping column operates at atmospheric pressure. So this question is being asked, and mercaptan is being asked, and this is also being asked, bottom product, and all these two questions is also asked calculation question. In a refinery, petroleum crude is fractioned into a gas fraction, light and intermediate distillate, heavy distillate, residues, and byproduct. The group of product, including gas oil, diesel oil, and heavy fuel oil, belongs to the fraction of, right? So that's what the question, whether the gas oil, diesel oil, heavy fuel oil belongs to the fraction of heavy distillate, because normally gas oil and diesel oil, you can talk about only just intermediate distillate. Yeah, light end residues is not possible. Intermediate we can say gas oil and diesel oil, but since they have included the heavy fuel oil also, then it become a heavy distillate is the right answer. LPG used for household cooking comprises of mainly, right? The LPG, the cooking gas, what it consists of? It consists of propane and butane. Okay, that's the LPG consists of. Catalyst used in the catalytic cracking process. What are the catalysts? A lot of catalysts is being used. Silica alumina, silica gel, vanadium pentoxide, and nickel. Right? Silica alumina is the catalyst that is used in your catalytic cracking process. Characterization of a factor of crude oil is calculated as a 12.5. It means it is a paraffinic, right? We talked about that. If it is 10 and below, it's more aromatic. 12.5 and higher, it is more paraffinic. This is also commonly asked question. Fuel oil is subject to vis breaking to reduce it. So this is also give you information what is vis breaking. Vis means viscosity breaking, right? So to reduce the viscosity, so to reduce the, whenever you see all ABC, that should be your right answer. Generally, if you see any all of the above, all ABC, that normally will be the right answer, since there is given all ABC, right? So that means vis breaking process is nothing but to reduce the pour point, to reduce the viscosity, to reduce your pressure drop in your pumping. So that is a vis breaking process. Crude oil is subject to vacuum distillation in the last stage. Why? That's a because, right? Why we have to go with the vacuum distillation? Why not we stop with the atmospheric distillation? Because the answer is A, because high boiling point product, heavy fuel oil, lubricating oil are heat sensitive and it may decompose. So in order to avoid the decompose, you go into vacuum distillation, then only you can separate it out. Which of the following has the highest octane number? Generally, people will say octanes means you have isooctane, right? Isoparaffin or olefin, we can say. But aromatic has the highest octane number. Aromatics always have a higher octane number than isooctane, but generally is a 3 to 4% benzene, or that means aromatase is used. But it has a limitation in use because of it is a carcinogen nature, right? Because it will create more carcinogenic problem. That is why the aromatic is being restricted in adding it in your fuel. Because of that, it is not being listed, but generally chemistry wise, chemically, if you're talking about, aromatic has the highest octane number, but when come to the fuel wise, aromatic should not be considered. So so aromatic will have a high octane number compared to even isooctane or isoparaffin. TEL is the tetraethyl lead is added in the gasoline for what? To increase octane number, right? In the gasoline, TEL process, tetraethyl lead is added in gasoline to increase the octane number. That means in the catalytic reforming process, silica alumina is being used, and the catalytic reforming process is the process we convert the low octane into high octane. We convert the fuel, and then what we are adding, TEL, tetraethyl lead is being added in the gasoline to increase its octane number. Now, desulfurization process, that is also called a sweetening, right? For sweetening of petroleum product. Sweetening process means it's a desulfurization process. Use of hydrogen. Why we have to use a hydrogen in the catalytic desulfurization process or sweetening process? Obviously, both, right? Enhance your desulfurization process and also minimize your coke formation. So in order to minimize the coke formation, in order to enhance the desulfurization process, you have to use hydrogen in your sweetening process or desulfurization process. So this is called doctor solution. Doctor solution used for sweetening of petroleum products.